Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer.
American hands will rebuild our nation, not the hands of people from other countries.
Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both trying to rev up their supporters ahead of tomorrow night's first debate, and it's time now for our Sunday group. Gerald Seib, Washington bureau chief of the Wall Street Journal, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams, Julie Pace, who covers the White House and the campaign for the Associated Press, and Rachel Campos-Duffy of the Libra Initiative, a nonprofit that educates Latinos about conservative positions. I want to start with a fascinating poll from the Wall Street Journal this week. Let's put it up on the screen. People were asked their top concerns about the two candidates, about Trump. 33% said not the right temperament for commander-in-chief. I talked about this with Mike Pence. 27% said his language about women, immigrants, and Muslims. For Clinton, 36% said her dealings with Syria, Iraq, and Libya. 29% her private email server. Jerry, when I saw that, my reaction was, well, Trump's got an easier challenge because it's all about how he acts, and with Clinton, it's about what she's done. And then Trump went ahead and played the Jennifer Flowers card.
Well, okay, there you have it. So you sort of have actions versus attributes. You know, some actions that trouble people, some attributes that trouble people. I don't know. I think, by the way, those questions frame pretty well the debate that we're going to see on Monday night, because those are the attack points, I think, for both sides. But I don't know, which do people think are easier to swallow, actions which might have been mistakes or attributes which might never change? It's very difficult to know for sure. But I do think that in a sense, Hillary Clinton has a problem in that the email debate is not going away. I think Donald Trump, as you just suggested, has a problem because people think the temperament maybe isn't changing, contrary to what was said earlier this summer.
Do you think that the Jennifer Flowers invitation was a gaffe and that he was wise to get out of it?
I think probably so, yeah. And it was a classic Donald Trump tweet, wasn't it? I mean, it was thrown out there to kind of like change the subject, and then it was pulled back fairly quickly as well. So I think that one will be blown over by tomorrow.
Rachel, you are a Trump supporter.
Well, my organization is nonpartisan, but I am voting for Trump, yes.
Okay. What do you believe are the keys for him, both in terms of making the affirmative case and in contrasting it with Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think it's very clear that she has more experience. She has the right resume. She has all the knowledge. And I think it's his job to say, hey, yeah, she has all that stuff, but what are the decisions she's made? Has it given her better judgment? And then to prove that his business experience has given him a better gut instinct on making better decisions and using his judgment. And I think in the case with her, he has a lot to work with. I mean, she made decisions about Benghazi, even starting as early as the Green Revolution, not supporting that, the decision to pull out of Syria. So he's got to prove, like, yeah, she's got all this information and knowledge and this great resume, but what has it done to make your life better? And then also to make the leap that this is really about her, and this is her just doing it for her own political power or whatever.
Juan, same for Clinton. What are the keys to for her in terms of either winning or losing this debate?
I think she has to, in some sense, change the narrative, Chris, from the focus that Rachel was just talking about, emails, Benghazi, or questionings about her judgment. I think she has to get back to very clearly saying she's a resilient player, a tough political player, someone who has worked in terms of rooting out corruption going back to Watergate days, but also a mom, a grandmom, someone who has been focused on health care, on production of jobs. Create that image to the audience to make it clear she's a human being. And then secondly, I think she has to be very tough on Donald Trump. I think she has to say no shape-shifting, no getting away from the birther controversy, no getting away from the fact that you've excited white nationalist attitudes in this country, no getting away from what you said about Mexicans as rapists and murderers, or your misogynistic comments about women in this country. You see that already in the advertising being run by the Clinton campaign. But finally, I think there are lots of people who say, you know what, I don't care about what Donald Trump said or did. He's a disruptor, and I just can't stand the status quo in this country. I think politics is dysfunctional, and she has to be very clear in saying to those people that there's such a risk to voting for Donald Trump. It's not just it's going to disrupt the political status quo, it's going to hurt the country and the economy.
Julie, I want you to weigh in on this. How personal, how negative, how nasty do you expect this to be? Because, you know, it's one thing to have a campaign ad or a surrogate say it, or even to say it on the stump, but when you're 10 feet away from each other, it's
a totally different dynamic when you're standing next to your opponent than when you're talking in an interview or when you're doing a TV ad. And we've seen in both cases these candidates getting personal with each other. I think for Clinton, you probably are going to see her try to use things Trump has said in the past. This has been just a really core part of her argument. Don't take it from me, listen to his actual words. You've seen this in the ads. For Trump, I think it actually is a tougher question. You've seen his advisor say he is a counterpuncher. So if she goes after him, he will go after her. And he has not shown an ability when he does get into that attacking mode, that what they call the counterpunching mode, to keep it restrained, to keep it focused on policy. I think if he does start going after her, it will be difficult for him to focus on policy and her attributes as opposed to more personal matters.
We ask you for questions for the panel, and we got this on Facebook from Marilyn Marks. She writes, who will be most influential with the undecided voters in determining, quote, who won? TV networks, newspaper editorials, blogs, candidate claims? Jerry, you and I have been at this for a while. How do you answer, Marilyn? I mean, because the fact is, oftentimes we may think, you watch the debate, you think, well, so-and-so did really well. And then the next day, and as the week goes on, the narrative changes. You know,
interestingly, I think the voters themselves are the most influential because, as you suggest, Chris, we think something instantly after a debate is over, and it turns out that's not the way voters saw it at all. I've become very leery of our instant reactions to these debates because as it seeps in with voters, they sometimes draw different conclusions, and a lot of times it depends on what they're looking for. And in this case, you know, are they looking to gauge Donald Trump's temperament or his ability to handle issues? And are they interested in Hillary Clinton's ability to show that she's got the experience, or do they want to see if they can like her? I don't know what people's expectations are going in, but I think that to a large extent determines the way they read these debates.
You know what, I just wanted to quickly add that I think we're in a historic moment. I remember in 2012 thinking this is an interesting debate between President Obama and Mitt Romney, and realizing that all my colleagues were on Twitter and on Facebook, Chris, and that they were, in a sense, determining how the public viewed the outcome right from the start. And I noticed when Alec Baldwin and I forget who else, but these were
great political thinker.
Yeah, but they were on Twitter and they were influencing the public perception so that before the candidates had even finished, it was clear that Obama had lost.
Just quickly, I will say that I've talked to a key person in the Obama campaign after the campaign was over and said they were not prepared for that. Right. And they were, you agree, that they were totally surprised. The Romney people were much more mobilized. One of the few areas where the Romney camp did better than Obama. And the Obama people realized in the middle of that debate, we're getting swamped on Twitter.
I remember, I was at that debate, and I remember seeing the Obama staff at the campaign bar hotel after the debate, and they were still going through the motions. Yeah, we think he did pretty well. We're going to talk about this, this, and this the next day, without realizing that already the narrative had been set. But of course, we have to point out that even though Romney did very well in that first debate and was generally perceived the winner, he lost the election.
But the sheer number of people watching is going to change. I mean, people are saying we could get 100 million people watching. And so by definition, your personal opinion is going to matter more, and it's not going to be up to the media or the campaigns to spin it.
All right. But they will try to spin it. All right, we have to take a break here.